welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. My name's Kaya, and today I wanted to make a video about, I guess, essential Italian words and phrases that are really helpful to know if you're just going to Italy for the first time, if you're just wanting to know the beginner basics, if you haven't had any exposure to the Italian language before, or you're trying to learn it now, but you just want some like conversational tips for when you first arrive to get to know people and things like that, then this is the video for you. This is something that I really wish I had before I went to Italy, and it's something that I couldn't really find, to be honest. You know, like there are a few videos out there when it comes to the Italian language and like grammar and things like that, but I found it really difficult to find like conversational phrases that would really help me, I guess, when it comes to actually meeting people and talking to them for the first time, asking them kind of prompt questions to get to know them, and if you're traveling through different parts of Italy, different things to ask different people from different places and things like that, just to, I guess, create more of a bond with them. Because as some of you guys might know, I lived in Italy last year, and before I went I did have a little bit of exposure to the language at university, since it was part of my degree to study a little bit of the language and culture before I went on my exchange. So I'd learned Italian a little bit in a formal setting, but sometimes when you're learning a language in a formal setting, it can be, I guess you can lack that conversational element. And even though we did some speaking, it was nowhere near to the extent to which you need it in everyday life. And I guess when you're learning it in a formal setting, sometimes you can think you're fine, and when you're sitting exams in Italian and you're doing okay, it's like, okay, cool, I'm prepared. But it's a completely different ball game when you're speaking to natives. I'm gonna cut it right back to basics today, and hopefully this video can help some of you, because I feel like it would have really helped me before I went to Italy. So yeah, that's what I try and keep in mind when I'm making these videos, because I'm still improving my language myself. And even though, you know, I'm quite good at the writing side, and it's the same with English as well. I'm quite, it's always been, I guess, my strongest point, because I feel like I can articulate myself the best. It's the same in Italian for me. When I see something visually on a page, it's so much easier for me to get out what I want to say and to make sure everything makes sense, but without blubbering on too much. I'm just going to get straight into this video. So I'm going to start with basic understanding. So I guess how you can transition a conversation in Italian as a foreigner if you don't really know that much Italian. So if you're wanting to speak English with that person because you literally don't know any of the language, you can say something like parli inglese, which means do you speak English? So it kind of acts like a, I guess, a transition statement, because you just think yourself, you know, if someone came to your country and started speaking to you in a different language, although English is quite an international language and a lot of Italians do know English, it can be, you know, a little bit abrupt sometimes if someone just goes up to them and just immediately starts speaking English. So saying something like parli inglese, it's a really simple phrase, but it can just break down that barrier a little bit and get them prepared for the conversation, make them feel a little bit more comfortable. So that's what I would recommend if you're wanting to speak English. Just double check, just ask that question, and it can really help you out and create, I guess, some kind of connection as well. And if they say no, they don't know any English, which is quite unlikely if you're in like a really touristy area, like an airport or something like that, it's quite unlikely that they will reply no. But if they do, it's likely that there's gonna be other people around who can. So something you can say is c'è qualcuno che parla inglese, which is like, is there someone else who can speak English? And to let them know that you don't speak Italian, you can say non parlo italiano molto bene, or non parlo italiano. at all, if you don't speak Italian at all, you can just say non parlo italiano, mi spiace, parli inglese. That was like my go-to phrase in the beginning phases, because I was just so nervous in my mind of like everything else that I had to do, everything else that was going on, that speaking a foreign language on top of that was just a really stressful idea. So I would always just resort to that saying, even though it was probably, you know, quite a lazy thing to do on my part, but only because I did, you know, I did know a lot of the language anyway. So obviously if you don't know any of the Italian language, it's not lazy to not speak it, yeah, just for me. But if you do understand a little bit of Italian, but you just need them to speak slower so you understand, you can say puoi parlare più lentamente. So it's, can you speak slower, can you speak more slowly, or you can say puoi ripetere per favore, which means can you please repeat it, repeat what you said. So yeah, they're kind of the basic, I guess, transitional phrases, I guess you could say. So the next thing is obviously going to be more targeted at meeting people and getting to know people. So if you're traveling to a new place, these are some useful things that can help you, I guess, get to know a person a little bit better. So when you go to a new country and you're meeting new people, it can be nice to, you know, get to know something about them. And it works both ways as well. It can be a really good opportunity for you to practice your Italian, and also communicate with them or teach them something. They might teach you a little bit of Italian, and you might teach them a little bit of English if they don't already speak it. And this is kind of an interesting stage actually, because you would think that the next natural thing to ask for is their name, but a lot of the time that comes later. When you find in like a natural conversation with someone, oftentimes the first thing you ask for isn't their name. It's like you strike up a conversation and then you're like, and then later on it comes up and you say, oh, what is your name? Or what was your name again? I didn't catch that, or something like that. But yeah, it's often not the first thing that you would ask in a normal conversation, which is quite interesting, because anytime you're, you know, learning a language, it's often one of the first things that you learn, or one of the first sentence starters that you learn. But it's often, yeah, not the first thing you actually ask people. So found that to be quite interesting. But if you do want to know their name, you would say come ti chiami, which means what is your name, and they would reply mi chiamo and say their name. And then you could say your name, so you'd be like mi chiamo, say your name to them. And then you could say something like un piacere conoscerti, so it's a pleasure to meet you. And then you could go in to say something like sei di qui or che fai qui. So you can say, so that means, you know, are you from here? What are you doing here? Sei in vacanza? Sei qui da studiare, per lavoro? So you're here to study? Are you here for work? These are things that you can ask that really, I guess, strike up conversation. So I find that asking questions in any language, if you're trying to get to know someone, the best thing to do is to ask questions, especially if you are a little bit nervous about your Italian or not so confident in your Italian language, but you do know how to ask people questions. It can be really nice to, you know, just try and listen to people and soak in as much vocabulary as you can, because that's what's going to really help you to learn and to grow in your language. So the cool thing about Italy as well is that in each region they have a different regional dialect. So the extent to which this differs from the regular, I guess, standard Italian really varies. So in central and north of Italy, their, I guess, regional dialect is usually just like regular Italian, or very close to regular Italian. But when you go to places like places in the south, like Basilicata or Puglia or Sicily, you'll find that their regional dialects are quite different. So it can be nice, it can be a nice like starting point as well, or a nice question point to go into after you've kind of ask all the basic questions. You can ask a little bit more about their dialects, their regional dialects and things like that, because they often really like talking about it, and they often really enjoy teaching you different words in dialect as well. It can be really, really fun, and you kind of get like mutual enjoyment out of it, mutual amusement as well. It can be really funny. So you can say something like, vuoi imparare il tuo dialetto regionale? So I'd like to learn your regional dialect. And oftentimes they would, you know, be really, really excited to teach you some different words in dialect. They might teach you some like some curse words, or you know, things that might not even exist in English. I found that to be a really fun experience. And also, if you do come across people who don't speak English and your Italian isn't very good, sometimes it can be difficult to find like bonding points. So I found that like one main thing that I bonded with Italians with that couldn't speak English, when I couldn't, you know, when I didn't have the words to be able to articulate myself to them in a proper way, we would often just resort to humor and just laughing and making jokes. And they're often really amused by that. So yeah, I found that to be a really, really good way to, I guess, break the ice if you haven't really had that much conversation. And then you can say something to them like, vuoi imparare un po' di inglese? So would you like to learn a bit of English? And then you can teach them a bit of English, and it becomes like a mutual exchange that way. So they're teaching you things and you're teaching them things, and it's really it's a really, really nice bonding experience, like I said before. That's where I'm going to end today's video, guys. I really hope it was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and make sure to subscribe because I upload videos every week. I know I haven't lately, but I'm gonna get back into it. So my next video should be up in a few days time as well, so I look forward to that. And yeah, I'll see you guys very soon in my next one. Bye.